the voice inside my head, telling me to say the words I've never said, for fear that if I tried, I might be denied. So these words I never spoke, too afraid that if I tried that I may choke. I'm too wrapped up in thought to take the chance I've got.
Hey there, how you doing? That's not awkward at all. I don't know how to start anything not awkwardly. I'm just gonna embrace it. We'll go with the awkward. Hey there, how you doing? Is the sun shining where you are? The sun has been shining here with a bit more frequency. Also, the days are getting longer naturally as we progress towards spring, but the sun has been coming out and we've had a few hints of spring and a couple of really warm days, and you can just kind of feel it in the air, especially on those slightly warmer days. Just this little wisp of warmth that kind of weaves its way through, and it's giving me a lot of energy. It's giving me a lot of really great energy for spring and an awakening, a revival. I am through and through a seasonal person, and I say that in both the literal sense in that I embrace the seasons, and I always have, but also in the sense of more of a deeper, almost spiritual way. I read this book in January called Wintering, and it was about, I'll link it below, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. It was about how wintering is more than just, you know, preparing your home and your body and your family and whatever else for the winter season. It's about embracing time in your life when you really have to go inward and hibernate and kind of cocoon, and it's just a necessary part of the human experience. I think this author, Catherine May, I believe, would argue for everybody, but I don't want to fall into hyperbole territory there. I would say most people I know, definitely, that I've spoken to about this, have experience with seasons in their lives. Highs and lows and ebbs and flows and just everything in between. And sometimes those line up for me. Like I said, I am very seasonal in the sense that I embrace like a lot of my mood and motivation, and everything does play in with the actual seasons of the year. But sometimes it just doesn't fall that way. My most recent winter though, this winter that we're now coming out of into spring, I fully wintered. Mind, body, heart, soul. And I wasn't really prepared for how deep it would go. And it went deep. And it was something that I really, really needed. It was something that I think a lot of us can relate to, kind of pushing through 2020, you know, grit and bear it kind of, and a lot of the processing of the huge emotional roller coaster of life that was 2020. I've had to shelf just to get through the year, right? I don't mean to sound dramatic. It's just that, you know, there's a way that I think we can compartmentalize, at least for me, I can compartmentalize certain feelings, and then later deal with them, or sometimes I'm forced to deal with them. If I push them away for too long, they just come bursting out at really unfortunate moments. This wasn't that. This was in due time. Like, this came at the moment it was supposed to. And I have felt the last couple of weeks, it's not all at once. It hasn't been like, oh, now we're good. You know, not that I was bad. It was just, it was a different vibration. Okay, I was on a different energy field. And I've just been slowly, very naturally lifting out of it. And it feels like spring. And it feels like spring outside, and it feels like spring inside. And I've been working, I've been getting inspiration in the house. I mean, if this isn't a metaphor for my personal state, I worked on painting these bookshelves in my bedroom back in the, I think it was November was when I was painting them. And I was all gung-ho, excited to do it. And then I was like, okay, I need to pause for a minute just to get through all of the work that the back end that goes into daily, producing a video daily. It's very time consuming. So I was like, okay, I'll put this aside and I'll finish the bookshelves up in, in January when I'm not producing a daily video anymore. And January came around and I deep dove into my winter and they sat. And it's been 4 months since I started the project, and those bookshelves still on even the paper that I had laid out to paint them on. And just kind of in the middle of the room, taking up space and finished with the painting, but I hadn't done the waxing. It's this chalk paint. It's beautiful. It's just a lot of steps. And I just could not bring myself, I just had no motivation to finish it. And then all of a sudden, a week ago, I picked up the brush and the wax, the can of wax, and I was like, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do 1 bookshelf a day. I'm gonna get it done. I'd already done all the shelves. They were done and cured, which is great because I could put the books on right away. Because you have to let the wax cure for up to 3 weeks if you want it really hard, if you're putting really heavy things on it, like books. So all I had to wax was the frames of the bookshelves, but it takes a couple hours to wax each one, and I did 2 coats on each. So I was like, I'm gonna take a week, I'm gonna work on 1 a day, and it'll take me 8 days to get through, 2 coats on 4 bookshelf frames. And I did it. And that might not sound very impressive, I'm not trying to be like, ooh, look at me, but it was, to me, a very clear indication that I am reviving. My inspiration there, I have so many ideas, so many thoughts and things that I would like to accomplish with the house, with my content, with my life, with my kids. There's just a lot. I'm kind of in this phase now, and actually I saw this thing, I'm gonna grab my phone and show you. Okay, it was actually just yesterday that I read this, and I reposted it on my stories, but I read this. It's from an account called Moon Omens, which I follow, which is just kind of astrological slash horoscope-y kinds of things, but they also just, I don't know, I like their vibe. This just describes what I feel where I am right now to a T, so I'm gonna read it to you. I'll also put it up on the screen so you can read it, and I'll link their Instagram below. It says, feels strange, doesn't it? This awkward in-between phase you've been passing through on the way to your next chapter. It's a confusing period of your life where the only thing you're sure of is that your soul is expanding to newer heights. You've been through periods like this in the past, but something about this one just feels different. This one has your heart beating in urgency while your mind basks in calmness. This one has you reflecting more while saying a lot less. This one has you exercising your patience vigorously while the universe bombards you with signs relating to your dreams. It's like your spirit is being split in 2 as your new and old self fight over it. Fear keeps threatening to take control, but you're so much stronger than you used to be. That's why you're not going to let it. Ground yourself in the present repeatedly, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Resistance will have you permanently stuck in a chapter that was meant to be temporary. Acceptance will allow you to naturally flow right through it. You've reached a very pivotal moment in your journey. You can either suppress your magic or revitalize it. Welcome to the wonderful world of ascension. This very, very accurately describes how I'm feeling right now. Because while I feel myself lifting out of this winter, and it was not depression. I've experienced depression. I know very intimately what that feels like. It was not that. It was a turning in. It was a reckoning. And while I feel like I'm in this lifting out, this ascension phase, this moving towards this rebirth, revitalization. Just because that feels like an energy upswing doesn't mean the you-know-what doesn't hit the fan. Like last week, I got news that knocked me. It was just extraordinarily devastating news. And it is not easy to process these sorts of things. I mean, everybody has things like this, right? When we can't predict them, and it just feels, doesn't it feel like it's one thing after another? I know so many people have echoed the same. But at the same time, that period, that 6 to 8 weeks in the beginning of the year that I spent wintering, gave me so much strength. It was a period of processing and grieving and moving through things that strengthened me, and I have really stepped into my faith and my strength, and my core being feels more rooted than ever before in my life. And I know that embracing these seasons, these ebbs and flows, the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the winters and the summers and everything in between, these are critical. I mean, they're absolutely critical to growth. And I know that. I know the bookshelf's not perfectly organized. Like, I got all my books on it by category in the way that I like, but I'm gonna fiddle with it. I'm not gonna run out and buy a bunch of stuff to put on it. I'll, collect things that I have. I still have so many other areas of the house to really settle into, and I haven't been in a rush with it. And I've been letting myself take the time because I can. What's the hurry? And letting myself just do things at a pace that feels natural instead of forcing myself to do things because I should. By whose standards? And why do they matter? It's my home. I live in it. Me and my kids. My kids are very happy here, and I am too, and so is my dog. She surely does not care if my bookshelves have perfectly curated tchotchkes on them, Not to say that I don't love a perfectly curated tchotchke situation, but I'm just not in a rush. And I find I have loosened up so much of that constant tension and pressure that was self-imposed, but also, if we want to be honest, it's culturally imposed. It's culturally imposed to be self-imposed, I believe. And I'm letting go of the cultural imposition, and that's allowing me to peel off the layers of the self-imposing stuff. And it feels amazing. So yes, my heart is broken by devastating things that keep happening. But I'm also lighter and freer and just more me. And that feels really good. And it's so comforting and beautiful to live that way. I've never felt so free. And I hope that I can share that with you. I'm experimenting. I'm in this in-between phase, like I read to you. I'm going to be experimenting with how I show up. I want to continue showing up online because I feel very strongly that that is still my calling, if you want to put a label on it. I think it is. But I feel like loosening that up and seeing where it takes me. So here we go. In the meantime, I am full on nesting, essentially, and it feels really good. I needed time to not nest, and now I'm back to it, and I love it, and I love my home, and I'm so very grateful for it, and I'm so very, very grateful for you. Thank you for taking the time to watch today, and I hope you are well. Bye. Take very good care. What do you think, Winnie? That Mommy finally put the bookshelves together after 4 months. Does it feel nice? It feels nice, doesn't it? Let's have a cookie to celebrate.